Demonstrative 1.
This is Final Fantasy VII, played currently on the Switch, originally released on the PlayStation 1, and I will be showing off, I'm going to start with the Switch version, then I'm going to show off some of the PlayStation, and then finally PC. Alright, so here we are. This is actually on the world map. Let's go ahead and head into town here. So what we got here, actually, is, so if you haven't played any of the Final Fantasy games before, you should know that the Final Fantasy games are all pretty much separate stories. Like, Final Fantasy VI has really nothing to do with Final Fantasy VII. Like, there's no recurring character or anything. It's not even the same universe, I would argue. But they do have the similar things of their item and money names. So like Gil is the money. Typical items are potions and ethers. But what I'm going to show here is how the game is structured, how it's played. Let's go ahead and actually go out into a battle. So Final Fantasy VII starts off with a story of Cloud here, the main character. Yes, they are all polygon-shaped characters, but on the field here, they're really polygon simples. But when you get into battle, their character models do get a little more detailed, as you can see right there. And then in battle, you can, of course, pause everything. You can turn on a help menu item. So if I have it off, you know, it looks like that. If I have it on, cast spells, what magic is, attack with the equipped weapon, go into items, and you can see what each thing does with that on. Or you can turn it off if you know what they already do and you don't want the covering the action on screen, I guess. So what is happening right now is that everyone is moving actively. I can choose to defend, and as you see the time bars fill up there, when that gets full, that character can then move and do stuff. So then I can attack. And then as you may have noticed, characters, when they get hit, that limit bar also goes up. And when it gets to max, you enter what is called a limit break. So you can use your regular attack move, then changes to this limit move, which is different for every character. Every character has their own unique limit attacks. And Tifa, for instance, has this weird roulette thing where you can do multiple attacks, and their strength depends on what you got on the roulette. Magic includes various things, like this is going to be like a poison spell. This is a cure spell, so you can restore your HP. Your HP, if it drops down to 0, that character will get knocked out. And so they enter a KO status in which they cannot act. Their time bar is gone, their limit gauge. Their limit bar also goes down to nothing. And in fact, you can actually attack each other. Although there are a few instances where your character, if they get like a confused status, they'll be circling themselves. And then if you hit them, they'll snap out of it. Let's just go ahead and demonstrate that KO status real quick. One more. Oh. And, oh. Wait a minute. Let me make sure this works here. Okay. So yeah, when you're down, your limit gauge goes to 0, your time bar goes to 0, and then the only way you can act again is if you use a revive item, such as a Phoenix Down, or there is a life spell. And if it's not clear who you're targeting at any given time, that help window is really useful, because you can make sure who you're targeting. And then like potions, those restore HP as well. And then there is like an option to steal. So what I really like is So like most characters, their limit break actually will have multiple options here. Tifa's is a little different. A lot of characters have unique sort of limit structures. But let's go ahead and talk about our moves here. So there are different things that you can have your characters do. Your characters, what abilities they have outside of their limit break is completely up to you based on what you give them. And that is with materia. Materia are these orbs here that you see. You can equip them on different characters. I can unequip them. I can choose different characters. So I can have everyone have nothing, or I can choose what to give them. So I can give them like fire and ice spells, and then I can give him the restore spell. And then if I want to be able to target multiple enemies or allies, I have to pair it with an all materia. So as you can see, these two spots are linked. I'm going to switch over to equipment here. As you can see, there are different options. Based on your equipment will determine what kind of materia slots you have. So if I switch over, now these are not linked. So restore will only target one person, and this all is just doing nothing. It's just sitting on this character without having any effect because it's not linked with anything. In fact, blue materia is the kind of materia that you generally have to link with something for it to be of any use. There are different types, like yellow is a command type materia. All the green ones are magic, so they'll show up in that magic menu in battle. The yellow ones will create a new command for you, like attack or steal or sense. Those are different commands that show up on that top level menu in battle. And then pink materia is actually usually independent type. So linking these with other materia will not generally have any effect. So this will cover for allies. They'll step in to take a hit for someone else. And then each materia also can level up. As you see, there is AP and to next level. When you finish a battle, you get AP and experience. The experience points go to your character. The AP all goes to your materia. And when they level up, they have different effects. So right now, cover will cover 20% of the time. As a level up, it'll increase that. When you level up steal, you'll get the mug ability, which changes it from just stealing an item to attack and steal. And then fire spells, all the spells, they usually just have multiple, I guess, tiers to the spells. So you get fire 2, fire 3, that's just a more powerful spell. So in your magic menu, you'll have fire 1, 2, and 3 all as options, but the higher level spells will cost more MP to cast, as well as deal more damage. And then, as you can see, of course, on the character there, you got HP and MP. HP you have to have in order to do anything. If it goes down to 0, your character cannot do anything. They get KO'd. And then if you have no MP, your MP is how much you need to cast spells, basically. And then your equipment, as I mentioned before, determines a bit of your materia setup. So you can only equip materia based on the type of equipment you have. So if I want to put on materia for everybody, I can make my... This is an elemental materia that adds materia element to equip armor or weapon. So now it's on my weapon. If I were to put on my armor, it would be different. But since it's on my weapon, it now means my attacks will have a poison effect. If I put on my armor, then I imagine that means I would be more or less resistant to poison attacks. And that, oh, there's a whole lot. There's a whole lot you go into with different types of materia. I guess I don't want to go into it in too much detail, but there is a lot there to get into if you want to get into that. And then, of course, there's a stat screen, which gives you a summary of everything that you got on there. Order will let you rearrange your party member order if you want to do that. And you can double select someone to put them in the front row or back row. Front row and back row is similar to other Final Fantasy games or previous Final Fantasy games, where being in the front row means you give and take more physical damage. And then being in the back row means you take less physical damage and give less physical damage. Unless your character has a long-range weapon. And that is indicated in the description here. It says long-range weapon. It means it has full normal attack power, whether you're in the front row or the back row. And Barrett here in particular does have... Each character has their own set of weapons. So like no one else can equip the assault gun. No one else can equip the buster sword. No one else can equip the metal knuckle. So every character has their own sort of group of weapons that they can use. And Barretts do switch back and forth between long range and close range. Where most other people, like... I don't think Cloud has any long range weapons, or Tifa. And then you have items we talked about. Limit. So limit is interesting because your limit breaks, they do level up. You start out with just the simple 1 limit. So like you start with just Braver. And then as you use it, you'll eventually get Cross Slash. And then the only way to get to level 2 is simply by defeating enemies. It's not by how many times you use your limit, but just how many enemies you kill. You can get the next limit level. And then as you switch to that level, the previous ones become unavailable. You only can use the 1 or 2 limits available on that level. And then it also affects how quickly you gain level, or how quickly you gain limit, I should say. That limit bar will fill up faster at lower levels and slower at higher levels, depending on how much damage you take. And there are some other factors to consider as well. But yeah, you start with just 1 limit attack per level. To get the second attack in that level, you use the first one a bunch. And then to get the next level, you just kill a bunch of enemies. So that's all that is. And then you can use check to see what these things are. And then config. So what's interesting about config in that this latest release of the game, particularly on Switch, is that everything is here except there is no controller customization. So ordinarily there would be an extra option here to change the controls, but for some reason in this latest version on consoles they have not included a button config, which is really weird because the original game on PlayStation has a button config, which we will show in a sec. But here you can change the window color. So if you want to change it to some other color, you can do that. In fact, you get control of each quadrant. So you can pick like another quadrant to make it look different. If you want to make like, I don't know, some weird colors, you can do that. And then you can like sort of have like a gradient effect if you want to do it like that. That's something you can do. You can set the individual music and sound effect volumes here. So you can change those. Cursor. This will either put the cursor at the top of a menu or wherever you last had it. When you're in like a battle menu or something. Doesn't seem to have any effect on this menu here. ATB, this affects that time bar that goes up. If it's on active, then the time bar will simply always be filling for everybody. This includes your characters and the enemy. Recommended. Well, wait is where the time bar will only fill when you're not in a menu. So if you open up the magic menu and you're trying to select a spell, or the item menu and you're trying to select an item, then the time bar will not fill for you or your enemies. Recommended means it will always fill, except it will stop at certain points the game likes, such as during a long spell. It'll just stop after a certain point and it'll wait for like the spell to finish, and then the time bars will fill up. This really is the recommended way, so that the time bar will just fill up most of the time. Having it on active means if you're casting a very long spell, then all the time bars are going to be filled up by the time you finish that spell. And if you have it on wait, then this really is like, I guess, for an easier mode. But it does slow down the game a little bit because it's waiting on you to do everything before the time bar even starts moving again. So if you want things to be a little easier, you could put on wait, but it just will slow down combat. So recommended really is the best way to do it. And then this, of course, affects how quickly or slowly text is displayed. Or no, this is how quickly text is displayed in battle. This is simply how fast the time bars fill up in general. This applies to both you and your enemies, so it increases or decreases the speed of battle. And then field messages. This is just, of course, how quickly text scrolls in normal outside of battle settings. Having text auto fill up a window box usually is pretty nice for me. This is the battle screen camera. This on auto it'll have like dynamic effects where it like scrolls around stuff, and fixed is where the battle camera will just not move much at all. And then here you can change the order in which your magic shows up. So restore, attack, and indirect pretty much is the way I would recommend it, because it has your healing moves at the top of your magic menu, so that when you need to heal in emergency, you can do that. And then attack is like fire and ice and stuff, and then indirect would be like status effect spells, like if you want to put on a speed spell, haste, or a poison spell, something like that. And then you can change the order of those if you so desire. PHS, this is something you don't get until a little ways into the game after you have acquired other party members. This is simply how you change party members in your party. And of course save, which you can only access on the world map or at specific save points in dungeons. And then you can quit the game, of course. This is not something that's ordinarily in the original game. It was added since it's been released afterwards. So if you look right now, my characters, they don't have any materia, but there is an option if you select over here, arrange. You can simply, you can remove the materia from everybody. You can also exchange materia, which allows you to simply take materia from another character and move it to another. This is very helpful in situations where your party does get split up. You can then move the materia onto a character that's not in your party currently, because you can't change your party members at any point in the game, but you can change the materia on all your characters anytime outside of battle. And then of course you can remove all the materia from everybody. You can arrange them in a game specific order. Oh wait, that didn't remove it from everybody. This just removed it all from this character. But yeah, you can go into exchange and of course put on what you want from whatever character. You can move it to another character. Very useful for doing that kind of stuff. And then of course check will allow you to look at what your character's options are. So you can look at what things are. That red arrow next to that spell means it will target multiple people because I have the all materia attached to it. So that is handy. And then if we go into town here. Oh yeah, so what's nice about the latest release is that you can use the D-pad to simply move around like in the original game. The original game did not have analog stick support. So the only way to move was with the D-pad and then holding down a button to run. But in this latest release, you can hold the control stick. You can either move it slightly to walk or hold it down in any direction to run. You don't have to hold down a run button anymore. And of course there are shops around, places where you can buy and sell what you have. And it'll show you like the price, how many you want to sell. Normal stuff. You can also sell your materia. Depending on how many, depending on how much AP it has, will actually change its value. So that's, you basically just, if you level it up to max, you can see their price for master. It won't gain any AP above that, basically. So if you level it up to max, you can't just like farm gil out of mastering a single materia. You can master multiple materia, but that is about it for that. Same goes for materia. You can buy materia in places. And then you can buy equipment, the weapon store in this case. And you can see how it has more slots than my current weapon, and it's also stronger. That yellow 23 means my attack is going up. And then you can see down here the mithril armlet. That's already what I have on everybody. It's not going to change their stats. But now I can go into here, put on a new piece of equipment. The material I already had on is still there, and then I have an extra slot, so that's pretty nifty. And as you can see, I can't change party members or save while I'm in town. I have to do that at a save point or on the world map. Alright, so we're going to go through a little bit of this cave, just get a little gameplay demonstration. So there are, of course, dungeons like this where you can just find stuff, land on the floor, chests, get into random battles. So here's that bio spell. It's paired with the all materia. You can hit all targets with it, or other targets will just be single without it, all materia attached to it. Of course, using spells uses MP. It might just be more effective sometimes just to use regular attacks. And then there are also spots in a bunch of dungeons where you can grab something and climb it. And while it's not always obvious where those opportunities are, you can press select or minus and you get indicators. So you got the hand pointing over you, so you know where you are. And then like the green triangle indicates something you can climb. And then there will be like red triangles to indicate exits on screens. Also, the all materia I mentioned, as you can see here now, my bio spell will only hit one target because the all materia, as it levels up, will give you more uses. So at the first level, it only has one group effect per battle. So that is the basics of the game. Let's go ahead and jump over to the PlayStation 1 original version. So, recording for this game is fairly difficult for some strange reason because the PS3, I could record this on the PS3 because I have the digital version there, but the Elgato does not record PS3 footage. And then I could use I do have a AV recording device, which I have used for like the GameCube and Game Boy Advance stuff, and PS2 stuff, but that doesn't work on PS1 footage. Like, I run it through the PS2, and it just comes up blank on PS1 footage for some strange reason. So anyway, this looks really rough on this HD screen. Everything's pretty pixelated. It looks a lot better on a natural TV. And even the PS3 digital version of the game looks a lot better than this. This looks pretty pixely. But let's go ahead and dig into what I've got here. So I've renamed, you can rename all the characters in the game. I should have mentioned that before. As you can see here, as you get to different limits, you do get to choose your level. I'm not even on level 4, I guess, for some reason. I just like these a lot better than this one. But yeah, as you change your level limit, level, you if you change it around, your limit bar does get set back to 0, just so that you don't sort of make cheat the system or any kind of thing like that. Also, your 4th limit level, these are all learned by a specific item that you have to find in the game, and you can't teach it to your character until you've learned a single level 3 limit break move. So that is something to consider. Also, my HP is, and MP is maybe a little artificially high because there is HP and MP plus materia you can get in the game. This file in particular has definitely been grinding out materia stuff. So as you can see, there is... I want to point out that when you master a materia, it does sort of duplicate itself. So that's why I have multiples of the same kind, because when you master one, it creates a brand new one at level at the basic 0 AP level. So when you master one, you can take it off and like remaster a new one instantly after that because of that ability. There is also a way to get master materia, like master magic and master summon. I guess I won't tell you how for spoiler reasons, but there is a way to do it, and when you get that, basically it lets you, the single magic master materia gives you all the spells and all the summons. The master summon materia gives you all the summons. So that's cool to think about. There's also a lot of unique materia in this game, such as Final Attack, where when you die, you instantly use whatever is connected to it. So in this case, you revive yourself. And if you have something like a counter materia, which is paired with whatever other materia it's with, so when you get hit, you'll counter with this materia, which is different from the counter attack materia, which simply does a normal attack back when you get hit. And it doesn't get paired with anything. It's an independent pink materia. So yeah, there is a lot of fun to be had with materia combinations, I'd say. Lots of fun, unique materia. Some of the most fun you don't get until near the end of the game. But it does get pretty cool that way. And then, as you can see in the config menu here, you got the same window. The sound options are a little different. You don't have the independent music and sound effect controls. Then, of course, the controller, you can change your commands to be whatever you want. So you can reassign things in there. And then, yeah, that is also the same stuff you got there. And, oh yeah, as you can see, there's no quit option on this because it's a PlayStation game. You just want to quit too. But let's go ahead and jump over to the PC version real quick to show a little differences there. So, as you may or may not be able to hear, the PC version, well, actually, it's unfair to say that it's this way, because the PC version has been since updated on Steam, at least, to have the original soundtrack, where originally the PC version back in the day was released with this MIDI soundtrack, which sounds much weaker than the original soundtrack. But I can assure you, I've at least read discussion posts on Steam that say that the original PlayStation soundtrack has been added to the Steam version. But let's go ahead, and what I really wanted to look at here was the, I guess, interface. So you got the save and quit option. You got the quit option, similar to the latest release. Config also allows you to customize your controls. Don't know why it's not in the latest release on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, but it's not. So yeah, this menu option right here is just missing for some reason. Otherwise, you have the same sound options as you have in the latest release, window color, all the same other options. One benefit, though, from playing on Steam, or not on, well, it could be Steam, but one benefit to playing on the PC version is as follows. The benefit is that you could be playing with mods. So obviously, this isn't normal per se, but you can of course equip mods onto your characters, onto your game, so that you could. A lot of mods have been made to like sort of quote update the graphics. They use like different models on their characters, but I think the models look really weird if you change them, because the animations that are built for these simple models don't look quite as natural on more detailed models, in my opinion. So, another thing that's different about the original PlayStation version versus, I guess, pretty much all the releases since then, is that the character models, I'm talking about the character models outside of battle, they have a sort of, they have mouths on them. And what I mean by that is, the character models themselves here, they have mouths on them, as you can barely see on Sephiroth here. The same goes for all the other characters, is that they have these little mouths on them. And it's really kind of distracting for me, because the original PlayStation version just doesn't have any mouth at all. They're just blank. They just have no mouths there. They're just like all flesh. So, I mean, there's no lip movement at all when they're talking. So, some characters will just have like a circle mouth there, just standing there while they're talking and when they're not talking. And it's kind of distracting where if they don't have a mouth at all, you can kind of imagine what they would be doing or when they would be talking. But because there's just a mouth there all the time, it's kind of distracting to me. But that's just in all the versions that's been released since. You do get used to it, I can say. I've gotten used to it. You just sort of have to go with it. Unless you get on the PC version and use a mod to remove the mouths. That's something you can do. So let's go ahead and check out a higher level limit break here. This isn't her best one, but it is a group attack. Oh, see, as you can see right there, gravity was born. That is because I just mastered a materia. Where is it? Gravity. See, it's now mastered. So I got a new one out of it. Which means I can come back in here. And I got one mastered already. If I just arrange them real quick, I can see I have a new gravity that I could start using if I don't want to keep the mastered one on, which I already have on. So I'll probably do that. Alright, and then I got one more thing to show off. We're going to go back to the Switch version real quick to show off boosters. Alright, so now we're back on the Switch here. And I believe this is also in the PC version. But there are special controls. I'll show here. So this is the control screen that shows up right when you start a new game. So as you can see, if you click in on the left stick, it has speed times 3. If you click down the right stick, it has battle boosts, HP, MP, limit max. And then if you press both down together, no encounter. So if we jump back into the game here, if I hit left, hit 3 times speed, right, HP, limit break max, and then together, no encounter. So no encounter, obviously, well, 3 times speed means I move at 3 times the speed now. What's nice about this is that if you were to do like a speed boost on an emulator, it would the whole thing is emulated faster. Where in this case, the 3 times speed only affects the game, the gameplay, I guess. It doesn't change like the music. The music's not going to go 3 times as fast, which would be annoying. Also, the 3 times speed automatically disables for cutscenes and other particular points which the game does not want you to fast forward because it would mess up timing of events or something like that. So it's totally safe to run the whole game in 3 times speed if you really want to. And then, of course, the no encounter means I'm not getting into any encounter. Let's go ahead and turn that off so we can get into an encounter. And again, everything's running at 3 times speed. Let's go ahead and turn that off so we don't get too crazy. And then limit max means I will take damage, but it's going to refill instantly. Also, magic doesn't really cost anything. And then my limit break just automatically refills itself. So I can just... Basically, this is the true easy mode, is you just have the HP, MP, limit break max setting on. So it will just always do that. I can turn it off in the middle of battle if I really want to. Or I can turn it on and 3 times speed and sit here and mash the A button. And I should note also that the boosters, while they may restore HP and MP, they do not prevent you from dying. It doesn't make you invincible. It's not a guaranteed win on any particular battle. But it does definitely help a lot. But yeah, the boosters do accommodate for the game taking place at appropriate times. And of course, you can turn off encounters entirely so that you only fight scripted battles, if that's the way you want to do it, and you can play at 3 times speed. But if you don't like those things, you can of course play it at the traditional way without any of those boosters on, and it'll be just fine. And those booster icons also show up on screen, so if you like are streaming the game or something, people can tell if you're using a booster or not because that icon is there to give you away. Ooh, found an ether. So yeah, that is pretty much the gist of the game. If you've played this game before, let me know in the comments below if there's anything I missed that you think people should know about before they decide to play it. And then, if you haven't played this game before, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or what you think of the game based on the review. Oh, and one more thing, because this has been ported to current gen systems, you may notice the pre-rendered backgrounds are sort of, they are at a decent resolution, but then the character models are at a higher resolution. In fact, I took a photo of an instance where you can really tell the 3D models are a higher resolution, much greater than the pre-rendered background. So like the train in the middle there, you can see is really blurry because it's part of the pre-rendered background, where the other 3 trains surrounding it are all models that are going to move in the game world, and they are very high resolution, and it is pretty jarring here. This is like the worst example I can think of so far that I've seen. There are also some spelling fixes or grammar fixes, so it has gotten some corrections to mistranslations that are in the original PlayStation version. Something to consider. Other than that, it's the exact same game, which is great to have on the Switch in particular, so it's portable for me. Of course, you can play it on Xbox One or PlayStation 4 or Steam and have all of these same features, except the Steam version will allow for more customization and mods, of course. And I think that is everything there is. If you have any other questions about the game, please let me know in the comments below and I'll answer them. And then I will see you in the next video.